everyone, welcome back for day 3. We are talking all about healthy hormones this week, and today we're going to be talking about specifically digestion and gut health and how they fit into this overall picture of health and therefore healthy hormones. So just as a review, we've talked about on day 1 stress, and I think that you'll see that's kind of a recurring theme throughout this week, and how all of these things really play a big part in putting stress on the body, therefore keeping things out of balance, such as your hormones. And so we talked a lot about stress on day 1. So if you missed any of these, you can go back in the Facebook group. You can kind of scroll down on Instagram. They're saved to my IGTV. And yesterday we talked all about diet. I literally almost forgot. Oh gosh. Diet and exercise. We talked a little bit about that too. So you can go back and look through those and hopefully catch up on those if you have not already. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about gut health and digestive issues and how that can really have a big impact if you were to really look at this and try to get it more under control and thinking about getting your hormones in balance. And I hope you're starting to see how all this really fits together. And sometimes when you think about hormones, you just think about like one thing. You know, it's just like you think I could just do one thing. It really is a complete picture, and this is just like the bird's eye view of this picture too. So hopefully you're getting all of this kind of in your mind of how it all works together. That's what my hope is this week, to really jumpstart you into that direction. Okay, so gut health and digestion. You know, we've been hearing so much more about gut health in general and how it affects so much. I mean, so much mood and emotions and immunity and hormones and all of these different systems in our body, and it really is true. And so hopefully today I can help you just realize how it all works together and how you can really help your body in its digestive processes, because that's what really helps you with all your other processes, right? I mean, if we don't process our food correctly, that throws off everything. So let's dive into it. So first, let's talk just a tiny bit about gut health. And basically, you know, going back to day 1, I talked about there was a couple of different stressors on the body. A lot of times we think about stress as just work, life, emotional stress, but GI-based stresses would be things like candida, parasites, SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. We just have bacteria in the wrong places. That's a stressor on the body too, because it brings on inflammation, it brings on improper digestion, and that kind of is a stress on the body. And so that really has a big effect when you think about digestion. That's why I wanted to talk about them together, because if you have those things in your gut, if you have parasites, if you have candida, if you have this intestinal overgrowth and other things that go into that throws off everything in your gut. You cannot digest foods properly, you can't assimilate foods properly, and all of that. It's kind of like a chain reaction. I hope that, you know, you kind of like one thing is messed up and then all of these other things are. That's exactly how this is. But I feel like gut health is really kind of central to all that. I mean, I look at gut health as everything health. And so that's kind of what I want to focus on today and help you see how that can really affect your hormones. And so gut health and digestive health. So I don't want to go into too much detail about gut health. I want to kind of move on into digestive health and how it can really affect your hormones specifically. So your microbiome as a whole, which really is like all the bacteria in your body, it can affects everything, but it plays a role in affecting your estrogen levels, which obviously that's what we're talking about this week in having healthy hormones. And so one thing that happens when you have gut health issues and you have these different things going on is that you get something that's called leaky gut. And you might have heard about this a little bit. We're starting to hear about these things more, right? And I'm learning more and more about them as well. I certainly don't know everything. I'm trying to kind of just pass on the things that I'm learning, and I continue to learn as well. And I encourage you to do the same. But when we think about leaky gut, and it's called GI permeability, that means we want the things in our gut to stay in our guts and do what it's supposed to do there and then move through that system, right? We don't want anything leaking out. When you think about putting food in your mouth, you want things to go down and not come back up, right? I mean, you can kind of understand the issues that come from that, but you don't want things to go out and leaking into your bloodstream. And that's exactly what happens when you have something called leaky gut. And this can really affect a lot of things when undigested food particles, microorganisms, toxins, things like that get into your bloodstream. That can affect a lot. That's exactly what happens when you have leaky gut. And so that again can affect your hormones and can affect your digestion. The things that lead to leaky gut are the things that we're talking about this week: stress, your diet. We're going to talk about it more in this, but also toxin overload. That's kind of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. All of that goes into how healthy your gut is, and again, the permeability. So you don't want it to be permeable at all, right? You want everything to stay in there, but when we have these things going on and we're not really taking care of our body like we should, these things start to happen. And so there again, inflammation increases, more stress on the body, hormones get off. Just trying to make sure you understand this big picture. Okay, so let's talk specifically about stress on your digestion. So I talked about in day 1, and I had a lot of people be like, oh my God, I had no idea about that. So when you're under stress, you're in fight or flight mode, and your body is not concerned with digesting food. It's not concerned with making hormones. It's not concerned with a lot of things. All it's concerned with is keeping you in a state that you could run and fight and jump and be sharp. I mean, that's what it wants to keep you in, because that's what your mind is telling your body to do. And so with digestion, your body is not pulling any energy into digestion, and digestion does take a lot of energy away from other processes in our body. So of course it's going to be limited when we're in this constant stress mode. And so it pulls blood away from the stomach. It also decreases saliva. It constricts the sphincter that's supposed to move your food through. There's a lot of different things that it can affect. So when we're in this stress state, that's why I was mentioning on Monday, anything that we eat is not going to be digested properly. Like, I don't care if it's like the healthiest food you can think of, just like a huge big green salad with lots of raw veggies, like all of that, it's not going to get digested properly. Yes, you will get some of those vitamins and nutrients and minerals, but you're not going to get nearly what you could because you're not going to digest it properly. That's going to cause other issues like bloating, like constipation, things like that. I mean, it really does affect the whole digestive system when you are under stress. And so that leads me to, whenever we eat, we should be in a relaxed state. And I know it's kind of like, how do you do that? Sometimes I realize that some parts of the day are more stressful than others, but I think it's worth mentioning that we should always try to eat slower, take deeper breaths, just be in that relaxed state when we eat. And try to, I'm always like, kids, leave me alone, I'm eating. I really want to be in peace while I'm eating. I didn't even know any of this. I'm just like, I just want to eat in peace. But literally, we should try to eat in peace whenever we can. So the lowered nutrient absorption when we eat, that's kind of what we're focusing on right this second. Other things that happen when we are in this stress state, we don't have enough stomach acids to actually digest the food that we're putting in. We don't have the enzymes. We don't have the acid to break it down. Stress can, I mentioned it could cause constipation. Well, it could also cause something that would lead you to believe that you might have IBS, because it could be, moving way too fast through the digestive system. It can be moving way too slow through the digestive system. It really just depends on you and how your body reacts under stress. I would say it's just probably half and half. It just depends. So those things all really play a part in lowered nutrient absorption, which, if you're following along and you've been listening, especially on day 1, I talked about the hormone cycle and how hormones are produced. So that might be a really great thing for you to go back and look at if you haven't watched that. But because we have lowered nutrient absorption, we literally don't have the building blocks we need for hormones. Like, we just don't have them. There's way less of like B vitamins and zinc and things that really, if you look at that cascade, fats even, we can't assimilate fats and use them correctly because, again, we're in this stress state. And even if you don't feel stressed all the time, if you're not in a really relaxed state when you eat, you're not absorbing all that you can. You're going to have some of these issues, even if you're like, well, I'm not really that stressed. Hop on over to the Facebook group if you're not in there, because I posted a little quiz or like kind of like self-assessment. We're more stressed than we think we are. I can promise you. If you're not honestly thinking about being in a calmer state and doing some of these things that you can do to decrease stress, and we talked about that in the first day, this is going to happen. Even if you're like, well, that person's way more stressed than I am. Well, I can promise you that I would not be pointing fingers. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. These are things that we all need to work on. We all have stress in our life. So I just want to make sure that you realize that you don't have to be like a super duper stressed, anxiety ridden person for these things to happen. So again, when you're eating the best foods, they still aren't getting enough acid to be broken down, enough enzymes to be broken down, and the bacteria isn't balanced. So those things together, I mean, it's just kind of like the perfect storm of these things just aren't going to happen. They're not going to get, you're not going to get the nutrients out of your food, which is what you need. This is why you eat it. We should be eating nutrient-rich food so we can give our body everything that it needs to run smoothly. Again, this goes back to hormones. So again, I was mentioning the calcium, magnesium, and zinc, B vitamins. These are really important for bodily systems. That's why you'll hear a lot more now about magnesium, because so many people are depleted of magnesium because of this exact process that I'm telling you about. And stress really depletes these things as well. But you're not getting them back from digestion and digesting it properly because you are stressed. So it's kind of like this really bad merry-go-round that you're in, if you will. So let's go on to like, what can you do about this? I think you have the picture of, yeah, this is probably going to be a problem if I'm thinking about just being healthy in general, just giving my body everything it needs, but specifically hormones. We want our hormones to be balanced because they can cause so many different things and side effects if they're not balanced, but it really is all a big picture, and today we're going to focus on digestion. So let's talk about gut health. What can you do about gut health? I would say at the very least, we should all be taking some type of probiotic. I mean, that's like the very first step that you can do. Pretty easy to go out and try to find the highest quality multivitamin that you can, but not multivitamin, excuse me, probiotic that you can, and just start there. You know, I'm trying to give you really easy things that you can do. You can incorporate probiotic rich foods like sauerkraut, fermented foods, things like that. Those are always going to be a little bit better than a probiotic that's packaged, just because they have live strains and different strains in those different foods. So I would say that would be the first thing for gut health. Obviously, we've already talked about less stress. That's going to help with all this. But aside from that, and the second thing I would say, if you're having a lot of issues, bloating, digestive issues, if you're having hormone issues, in general, gut health is everything health. So I really think investing in a gut and a test to test your stool or some other type of test to see what's going on in your gut is a great investment. It really is. And that will really give you, that's really the only way to find out what's going on beneath the surface, because you can do all of these things that I'm talking about this week. This is just to jumpstart you. You know, if you're like, I'm not ready for that, you're not ready for the time or the investment or whatever it is, but you know, you can start taking some of these other things, but eventually you're going to want to know what else is going on, because you're not really going to get to the health that you want to unless you address this, I would think, because I would be willing to say at least 90% of the public have different pathogens in their gut. I mean, we just do, from what we eat and drink and where we've been in the world traveling, and all of these different things really can play a part in that. So what about digestion? So I have a few things to tell you about this. Just maybe some things that you haven't thought about before, and hopefully ways that you can really help your digestion along. So obviously decreasing stress on our bodies by GI health, I just mentioned, is big. By overall stress, work-life stress, that will make a big difference. But what else can we do? So there are certain things that you can eat when you're stressed and ways that you can eat that will help. When you're stressed, in a stress state, it's important to eat things that are really easy to digest, because I mentioned your digestion is impaired and your energy is not going to digestion. So it's kind of a mess in that sense. So we need to give our body something that is easy to digest. So a couple of different things that's going to do. First, it will help your body use less energy to process. It already has less energy, so it's going to make the most of that. And it's going to have more energy for other processes. And remember, I mentioned earlier in the week that it takes about 30% of your overall energy to digest your food. And so if you're under stress, it's going to be even less that you have available. And so that's why it's really important to give our body something that is easy to digest. So here's a few things that you can kind of think about when you think about giving your body and treating your body better in this digestion kind of realm we're talking about. So try to space your meals out and give your body time to digest. We used to think that it was really great to eat all these meals a day, like 5 or 6 meals a day, like smaller meals. And I used to think that, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just learn more, I'm always learning and kind of tweaking what I'm doing. But what I've realized is if we eat these small meals, we're never giving our body a chance to actually digest what we already ate, and then we're already putting something else on top of that when we might have food that's undigested and we're just putting more and more and more on top of that. So we're just taxing our digestive system, and you can kind of think about what I've already talked about and why that would not be good. So obviously eating slower and chewing your food is going to help your digestive system. I know this is way easier said than done. I realize that. Sometimes we're in a hurry. Sometimes we just forget. But, they always say, like, it takes you forever to eat. I've just always been like that. I like to be not necessarily bothered when I'm eating, not in a bad way, but just, kids are always wanting something. I'm always like, let me eat. I'm always trying to chew my food well. I like to eat slower. Some people just like to eat faster. Just try to be more aware of it is all I can say. But really chewing your food better is going to help this tremendously. Eating foods that are softer or cooked will really help your digestive system. And this is where I mentioned earlier, like we would always think, and I would always think, eating a huge raw salad is like the best case scenario. That's like the best meal I can eat. And it really is a great meal to eat. I'm not saying that it's not. But if you're in a stressed state, which hopefully if you're on this journey, you are going to be trying to be less stressed and working on that. But your body's it's gonna be taxing on your system if you eat all this raw food that takes a lot more to digest than cooked food. If you don't get anything else from this that I'm talking about right now, raw food takes a lot more digestive enzymes, and it takes a lot more energy to process raw food than it does cooked food. Obviously, because it's just harder to break down. You think about when you chew raw food, you just kind of have to chew longer than you would cooked food. So it kind of makes sense in that. I'm not telling you to never eat raw food. That's not what I'm saying. But if you find yourself having these issues and you're working on stress, it might be good to eat a little bit more cooked food than raw food right now. But then you can add more raw food back in. These are just things to think about. I'm just going to leave it with you. If you're stressed, again, your body won't be able to absorb those nutrients as well anyway. So, we know that raw is better in that aspect as cooked, but if you're not getting them anyway, then it's just going to kind of cause more problems than it's actually doing good. So that's another thing. Eating warming and comforting foods really helps blunt cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone. We talked about that more on Monday. You can go back and listen to more of that and what it does in your body. But if that's why we always say like comfort food usually is starchier food. There actually is something that happens in your body where these starchy foods help to stop your cortisol levels from rising. And so that makes sense why we would feel more comfort and less stress when we eat starchier foods. Not saying you should eat all starch, okay? But this is something to think about. And so if you are feeling really stressed, try to find comfort foods that are a little bit healthier. Something like a sweet potato or a yam or carrots or something that is a starchier vegetable, but yet not always white potatoes, let's say, or butter beans or corn or things like that. So just wanted to give you some of those tips. So what are things, kind of rounding this up, what are things that you can add in that are going to help with gut health and digestion? So I already mentioned probiotics. Those are really great for everybody to take. And I mentioned also getting them from foods is probably the best case scenario. I like to do both. So, try to think about more foods that you could add in that had natural probiotics. If you have a test run to see what's going on in your gut, obviously there are going to be some beneficial supplements for that. So those are always great to add in. A quality multivitamin is really big because you think about all of the vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are not getting absorbed from your food. Well, you're going to need to add those back in. So that's why supplements are really important, especially as you look to do better in these areas and really clean up, maybe your diet or your lifestyle or work on some of these digestive things. It's really going to be important for you to supplement with probably more than you would whenever you get to a state that you're in a little bit better of a health, if that makes sense. So trying to find a high quality multivitamin. I love to use doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality Pack. It's a 3-part supplement pack, and it has a multivitamin in there. And you want to make sure that you're getting a high quality supplement. I'm not saying that you absolutely have to take that one. I'm saying that's the one that I take, and I love it, and I've seen a lot of benefits for myself and other people that I've helped. But find one that is high quality, that they don't have all synthetic vitamins in there, okay? You're not going to find a high quality multivitamin at the drugstore. Just FYI on that. So get one that's good, so you can actually absorb those things in your body rather than just excreting them out. Because I mentioned on Monday that B vitamins, and that's the start of the hormonal chain to produce them in your body. And so those are going to be really important. Obviously fat as well. And I mentioned that earlier. So lastly, adding in a digestive enzyme is really key, because this is going to help you break down your food better. It's going to help your stomach out and your digestive system out, but it's also going to help it assimilate it better. And what that means is you're going to get more of the vitamins and minerals from your food, whereas you are losing out on those when your digestive system is not working properly, or you're stressed or whatnot. And so Terrazyme, I love to use those. That's from doTERRA as well. Digestive enzymes are readily available, I would say. So whatever your favorite brand is, digestive enzymes are going to be something that you want to think about adding in. And I feel like that is too one of the things that you can do. Like, you can go out and do that right now, right? Some of these other things, you're going to have to work on them. It's going to be a process, but you can go and add in digestive enzymes, and that will help tremendously with bloating. That'll probably be the first thing that you'll see, with constipation, with regulating that, but also maybe things you won't see right away. It will help your vitamins and mineral absorption go up, because it's going to help your body break down those foods in a better way. So that is what I have for you on digestive health and gut health. And I hope that it just, there's so much more in all of these things and all of these topics that I'm going over in these 4 days, but I'm just trying to help you understand how it all fits together, and just give you some different ways of looking at your digestive and gut health, and hopefully things that you can go out and do and see results in quickly, because that's what I want you to do, and not think, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. I want you to go out and do some of these things and see results, and just keep tweaking. So we're going to be back tomorrow for day 4, and we're going to be talking all about toxic overload and lifestyle detox, and how and why that really does matter. And I think that you'll see that it all fits together. And then Friday, actually, I'm going to be back for a little bonus, and to kind of wrap it all up, and to give you different little bundles and different little things that you can do in each of these areas. And so hopefully, like I said, you can go out and really make some changes. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you later.